good Wednesday. It's Wednesday when I'm uploading this, but it might not be when you're watching it, in which case, happy day, and you can fill in the blank. It's an interactive video. I thought today we'd have a sort of gentle, classic type of video. I've drawn a concept from the vault. I went to Instagram and asked you to let me know some assumptions that you have about me. And you did. You assumed some things. What you should know is that my friends tend to have some fun with the question boxes, so the first batch of them are unbroadcastable. Let's have a look at the actual questions from the people who matter, not my friends, subscribers. Because subscribers and followers and influence is the most important thing of all in this economy. I would steamroller my own family to get a bit of capital. The assumptions haven't even begun and you're already learning horrifying things about me. The question is, your new relationship is still going well and bringing you joy. I mean, yeah, but imagine if this is how she found out it wasn't. You're still considering doing a master's degree, but you're conflicted on what to do it on. Yes and no, because here's the thing. The first conflict is the master's degree gonna do and achieve what I want it to do, which is to train me to be better at the thing that I love and want to do with the rest of my life, and get me in front of people who can facilitate my entry into that career, i.e. agencies, casting directors, etc. Because I spent the past sort of 15 years trying to carve my own path and break down my own doors, and it didn't work. So I was like, all right, I'll play your game. The second thing is, I'm bad at picking which pasta sauce to buy. I'm bad at picking what clothes to wear in the morning. I can't really decide what television show to watch this evening. So how in the hell am I going to pick the appropriate degree course, let alone get into them? Also, the interesting thing is, and I don't know how many of you have been to drama schools and can share your experiences, but when I talk to people about the degrees that I have considered and looked at, every single one of them gets someone saying, oh, they've gone downhill. Like, oh, I think about this institution. I know some people who've had a really bad experience there. But I will be applying for and auditioning for the entries in autumn of 2024 at this stage. So I've got until this sort of September, October to do an excessive amount of research, to ask people advice, to visit places, to talk to anyone and everyone who can give me insight, try and sift through all of that and find what I believe to be best for me. And then I can stand there in the pasta sauce aisle, weighing up the options, and then ultimately make one, and still at the end of the day constantly wonder about what I was going to do. That's where my conflict is, picking the right bloody course. Here's my ranking at the moment. I think top of the list would be going to Yale, then musical theatre at Mount View, the Royal Welsh College, then an acting MFA at the Bristol Old Vic. That's my sort of like top 3 ranking. Will we make this into a whole video? Would you be interested in watching a whole video about this? Does it matter to you that my channel is a complete hodgepodge of anything? You spend at least £150 a month on Starbucks. This is a homemade cold brew, thanks. But I don't think I've ever actually calculated how much I spend on Starbucks. I am a gold member, and to get gold membership, you need to spend a certain amount of money to get a certain amount of stars. And I don't know the ratio, and I actually haven't really liked to think about it. Shall we work it out? Is that a bad idea? Let's give it a go. So if we average them out, and I take my cold cup, so I usually get a little discount on that, which means about £3 sort of 50. Let's be generous and say I get 20 drinks a month, if that. Oh, okay, I'm coming in quite low. About £70, 70 to £80. Which is still too much money, but at least it's not a Pret subscription. I once had a thing with a girl who would shade me for drinking Starbucks when she was a member of the Pret subscription. And Pret don't so much serve coffee as they serve hot brown. You secretly like fall just for the aesthetic. Now, first of all, autumn. Second of all, I like the idea of autumn. And when you describe it, the idea of, ooh, a scarf getting nice and cozy and a book and a coffee and, ooh, we're gonna crunch the leaves underneath us. You get about a day of leaf crunching and then it's sludge. In the summertime, when the weather is fine, the colours are beautiful. My favourite colour is green and my second favourite colour is blue. And I'm sorry, but no coffee is as tasty and no scarf is as cozy as the feeling of your face being bathed in sunlight. When you walk out and you smell that warm air and you have a nice cool drink and it's the evening time and you're sitting outside and oh my god, it's so cold at the moment that I'm just dreaming of the day when I can go outside wearing a light jacket. Also, I get it with autumn and aesthetics and whatever, but here's a picture of the Amalfi Coast and tell me that isn't the aesthetic you really dream of. I assume you keep trinkets from past lovers in a box. Now, I did used to do this. I had a box of old love letters and pictures and scrapbook things from a previous relationship that I think I kept in some form of romantic notion that maybe one day we would get back together and she would be like, "You kept it after all these years?" And I'd be like, "Yes," and then we'd frolic. Didn't stop me dating other people, I just was like, wouldn't that be romantic? I think I am a romantic at heart. But not only do I like romance, I also like sort of analogies and metaphors. And I just got this visual image of a literal box of repressed feelings under my bed, passing negative karma up into me as I slept. So I did the only rational thing any sane person would do, and I burned it all in a ritual. I think I made a video about it, because some friends brought trinkets of their own and we all just took turns and said what we were grateful for. We Marie Kondo'd it. Thank you for your service, grateful for the experience, but now on to bigger and better things. It was a nice idea in practice. Even if you write it down, it sounds unhinged. You thought about getting a mullet. I am personally offended by the resurgence of the mullet. To me, the mullet looks inherently unstylish on anybody. The mullet is an unfinished haircut. I also think it's impossible to have a well-styled mullet that looks clean, unless you're doing a big feathered top, like a proper all guns blazing 80s mullet. The current mullets, in my opinion, look a little bit greasy, and I don't love them. So no, I'm not thinking of getting a mullet. The closest I ever got to was I did actually quite like Hawkeye's hair in Endgame. I took a picture of it to the guy who does my hair, and I said, "What do you reckon?" And he just went, "No." So much of your content is self-deprecating, you're scared to show happiness online. Wow. I mean, yeah. I'm scared to show happiness in real life. I don't really like talking about myself. I have like chronic humility issues. When people give compliments, I kind of want to implode, so you'll just sort of see me going like this. But also, I just think self-deprecating humor is quite funny, to be honest with you. Because if you can't roast yourself, how the hell are you going to roast anybody else? Can I get an amen? That's a really interesting one. I'm going to have a big think about that. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer it. I think the short version is it's less to do with showing happiness and it's more to do with this weird line between pride and arrogance that I don't know how to healthily straddle. Do you know what I mean? It's an interesting thought. Well played. You just like Jamie Lee Curtis winning her Oscar over any of the nominees. I actually didn't care. I think I saw a lot of the people being quite furious about it on Twitter, and it made me glad that I'm not on Stan Twitter in any way, shape or form. I think fandom is a really interesting concept and topic, and being part of a fandom these days is more important than being appreciative of the work and the art, I think. I see it when I go to the theatre and some audiences go into business for themselves and cheer at moments that maybe shouldn't be cheered for, or if you're someone who doesn't know the show, are quite baffled as to why this moment is iconic or anything like that, it can actually be a little bit dissonant is one way of putting it, but also it stops you from engaging with the piece when other people are hyper engaging with the piece. And it was that kind of Stan Twitter person that I saw getting incredibly cross. And if you remove the fact that, you know, awarding subjective media is inherently flawed in that way, because how do you quantify best anything, even if I do love the Oscars? I don't know, I just didn't find the tribalism of it particularly, you know, complicated. And also, for me, it was a Lifetime Achievement Award in some ways, saying, you know, here is a person who has spent years honing their craft and making some of the most iconic cinema in genre movies, genres that don't necessarily get the kind of love and attention that are perhaps deserved by an academy who are there to celebrate film history, when in fact those genres and the cult movies within them shape what is considered to be the high art that does get recognised at the awards. Seeing this woman who is central to one of the key franchises within that receive her flowers, I don't know, it didn't bother me. Okay, I maybe would have voted for someone else. I personally would have voted for Angela Bassett, or maybe even Kerry Condon in second place. I don't know, it sort of moved on. We'll all forget about it by next year. You're in a deep moral debate with yourself about whether Joel did the right thing or not. No spoilers for The Last of Us, but I will say this 100%, I would have done the same thing Joel did. By the way, The Last of Us was brilliant and the ending was infuriating. Infuriating in the best possible way, but infuriating nonetheless. And the real drama comes from not whether or not Joel did the right thing. Also, when you say the right thing, do you mean the sort of... Okay, I am going to go very briefly into spoiler territory, so close your ears if you haven't seen it yet or played the game yet. But by do the right thing, do you mean the bit where he rescued Ellie, or the bit where he lied to Ellie, or a combination of the two? Because for me, I also would have rescued Ellie. I don't know whether or not that's the smart thing or the correct thing to do or the humanitarian thing to do, but it's my gut instinct thing to do in terms of protecting this person who's become very important to me. But the bit where he lied to Ellie, that bit I'm like, mate, I think that was the wrong thing to do. I really do. And I think that telling her the truth would have made her cross at him, because she wants her life to mean something, and I think she knows that he's bullshitting, so they would have had that little conflict. But also, how many times over the course of the show did he tell her, leave me? Like, especially that bit where he's lying in the basement of that place dying. And she's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. He pushed her away at one point. He physically pushed her away and said, leave me to die here. And she said, fuck no, bitch. So she's been there as well. And I think that while she would have maybe been cross with him for a little bit, she would have eventually understood that he was just trying to protect this person that he's come to love. Now that's the drama I'm here for. Spoilers over now. You really want to move to America but are afraid of a big life change like that. I'm actually not that afraid of that kind of big life change. I would love to move to America. That's why Yale's at the top of my list. I think it'd be amazing to go and study there. Financially speaking, can't do it. Maybe one day. Hopefully one day. At least for a year or so. I'd love to live in... Well, I always thought LA, but I do actually I liked Boston very, very much. And it was bloody cold there as well, and I felt quite... I don't know, it was an interesting place. I quite liked it. You're happier now than this time last year. I think quantifiably in some places, yes. In other places, I'm still the same as I was last year, which that for me is infuriating, because I hate stagnation. But regardless, I'm certainly happier than I was 2 years ago, and way happier than I was 3 years ago, and for that I'm grateful. You miss the monotony of Waterstones. Monotony is the wrong word. I think what you're getting at, and what I do actually miss about Waterstones, is the regularity and the scheduling of being like, be here at this time, go home at this time, do these activities, and then I pretty much could leave it. I unpacked all the boxes, the books are out on the shop floor, ready to be put on the shelves, and I can go home now and not really think about it. Whereas in my life at the moment, because of a lack of scheduling and because everything is a little bit ad hoc within my career, which has its own benefits, I'm never fully able to switch off and not be wondering and worrying about what's next. Life is about balance. I don't really have that much of it, but it had an awful lot of incredible, wonderful, heartwarming qualities to it, and I miss the regularity of seeing the same group of people and having an anchor in that way. That's what I miss, and I would go back. You're monolingual. Yes, I am. I can only speak English, which is a shame. I don't like that. I would like to learn a language. I, in fact, tried to learn Italian through Duolingo, but the thing with Duolingo is it only really allowed me to learn the words it wanted me to learn in the order. It never really taught me how to like build sentences and understand, is it semiotics? Is it the syntax of how to construct sentences of my own in Italian, which if I'm only knowing phrasebook cliches and little things where I can go to a restaurant and order some water, it's not the same thing, is it? And even that, it would just give you the weirdest combinations. So like, I think pretty much one of the only sentences I can remember from Duolingo Italian is lo zucchero è nello zoo. And I don't know how regularly the sugar is in the zoo. If the only place that I can get sugar is in the zoo, well then I will rescind it and apologise directly to the owl. But right now, the sugar's in the cupboard and in Sainsbury's. So you have a favourite tube station and strong opinions about it. I have a favourite tube station bit of trivia, which is that when you change between the Piccadilly line and the Jubilee line at Green Park, walking down the tunnel, the mosaic tiles change colour to reflect which line you're on. They go from blue at the Piccadilly line to silver at the Jubilee line. I love that little bit of trivia. It always makes people go, oh cool, whenever I tell them, and that's thrilling. But I don't know if I have a favourite tube station. I do like Canary Wharf very much. There's something incredibly industrial yet futuristic about it, and it feels really cool. I love going down the escalators because the atrium is so huge that when you're going down the escalator, it feels kind of sci-fi. And I'm very fond of Piccadilly Circus because it was the first regular tube station I went to when I moved to London because I was working at Waterstones in Piccadilly, and it also feels very like cultural centre of London's cinemas, restaurants, theatres vibes. You usually get the wordle in 5. I don't actually know, let's find out. Play, okay. Oh, this is where I'm at so far. No, that's not helpful for anybody. Well, here's the answer, am I gonna get it in 5? Well, I didn't get it in any. So now my streak's over. Thanks very much for that. Hope you feel good about yourself. I assume I'm able to cry. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to spend £80 on Starbucks and think about whether or not I'm happy.